Hi, I am Tommy and I work as a director and cinematographer for commercials, short films and of course my own YouTube channel. And all of my projects have one thing in common: I shoot them alone or with a super small crew in the wild outdoors. And today I want to show you how I shoot my outdoor adventures. But I will not only be talking about gear, I will also share what I learned in the outdoors and how I achieve my specific style. And of course everything I mention will be linked down below, and if you've got any questions, please let me know in the comment section. My absolute workhorse of a camera is the Sony a7S III, and it's almost 4 years old, but in my opinion it's still the perfect camera for outdoor and adventure cinematography. I even shot my award-winning short film and all of my commercials on this little beast. The absolute killer feature of this camera is that it's able to shoot in super low light situations, which on one hand frees me from bringing a lot of lights, but on the other hand helps me to achieve a super natural look. The Sony a7S III has the same image quality at ISO 640 as it has on ISO 12800, which is super crazy to me. I don't know how it works. They call it dual native ISO, and it really changed my cinematography, and it's one of the key parts how I achieve my supernatural cinematic look in the outdoors. For example, I even managed to shoot the northern lights, and this is not a time-lapse, this is a real-time capture out of my camera. Of course there's a little bit of noise reduction in post, but this is super crazy and I can shoot in the craziest conditions and still get a great image. Other features I really like about the Sony a7S III are the great autofocus, its form factor, the battery life, and its capability of also being a still photo camera. Yes, I grew up with Sony and I really love their cameras, but the great thing about 2024 is that basically every camera on the market today is super great, and you can achieve super great images with all of these cameras. For example, the Canon C70, the Canon R5, the Panasonic S5 series, the Blackmagic pocket cameras. They're all super great. I just haven't used them a lot, so unfortunately I can't tell you a lot about them, I'm sorry. My favorite lens, and basically always the only lens I bring to the outdoors, is the Tamron 20-40 f 2.8. The Tamron 20-40 is super lightweight, super small, and its autofocus works great, which is basically everything I need from a lens. It's super nice to have a lens that is as wide as 20mm because it's super great for vlogging and super great for landscape, but if you're into wildlife stuff, this lens is not right for you. My drone is the DJI Mini 3 Pro, and it's the first drone that I really can bring to the outdoors because it's small enough, its battery life is good enough, and its image quality is finally good enough, especially for landscape shots. I always feel that as soon as you have humans or fast-moving subjects in your frame, these drones start to look a little bit off and a little bit cheap, but I only use my drone for these slow, epic establishing shots, and the DJI Mini 3 Pro is just perfect for that. When I started out, I really didn't like tripods and I felt they were a little bit old school, and I wanted everything to be moving and dynamic and fast. But as I progressed, I really fell in love with this static cinematic look, especially in the outdoors. I use the Peak Design travel tripod, which is just the perfect tripod for the outdoors. It's compact, but it's still super functional. I have the aluminum version. There is also a carbon fiber version. You save a few grams if you use the carbon fiber version, but it was just too expensive for me. Sound is super important, which is why I always have a shotgun mic on my camera. I use the Sennheiser MKE 200, and again, it's not the best microphone you can buy, but it's super compact and lightweight, which is just the most important thing for me when I go into the outdoors. And what I really love about this microphone is that I don't have to worry about battery life, because you just plug it into your camera and it works with the power that your camera provides. As I told you earlier, I basically never use artificial lighting on my outdoor adventures, and I only bring this super small aperture MC, and basically the only thing I use it for is to get these shots of my tent at night, and they look way more cozy and cinematic if there is some light and life in the tent. And of course you could also achieve this with your headlamp, but a lot of the headlamps, they start to flicker if you dim them down, and it's quite difficult to dial in the right exposure to get the perfect balance between the brightness of your tent and the brightness of the sky. Okay, and now that we've got the technical stuff out of the way, let's get to the cool stuff, and I will tell you how I shoot to achieve my style. This first tip might sound a bit silly and weird if you're just starting out, but always try to put your subject between your camera and the sun, because everything just looks better if it's lit from behind. This doesn't mean that you should always point your camera directly into the sun, but always find an angle where the sun is somewhere behind your subject. A scene filmed during sunset will always look better than a scene filmed at noon, and you can bring expensive cameras, expensive lenses, drones, but what makes and breaks your image is the light. So get up early, be ready to shoot way before sunrise, and maybe take a break at noon and shoot till late in the evening. If you decide to bring a mirrorless camera to the mountains and not shoot on a GoPro or iPhone, take advantage of it, and one of the advantages you have is the lens that is in front of your camera. And a super powerful tool in cinematography is changing up your focal length and knowing what focal length does to your image, because changing your focal length isn't only bringing you closer to your subject or further away from your subject. The key thing about changing your focal length is you're changing the relation between your background and your foreground. For example, if you shoot on a super telephoto lens, your background will appear super big in comparison to your foreground, which is how you achieve these looks with the big mountains or a big moon in the background. And on the other hand, a wide-angle lens makes your background appear super small, which helps you to achieve these huge landscape looks where you have tons of mountains and an endless landscape, and your subject in the foreground will appear super small and tiny compared to the big landscape. And yeah, that's just a super powerful tool of storytelling. Drones are a super crazy technology, and we can do stuff that people 10 years ago didn't even dream of, but you have to be careful with your drone shots and don't overdo it. I love super cinematic drone shots that are slow, just moving in one direction, no weird turning, panning, moving upwards, downwards, just one direction and a slow cinematic shot of your landscape. What I try to achieve when I film my outdoor adventures is to really bring the audience with me and let them feel my adventure and be with me in the outdoors, which is why I not only shoot some cinematic shots of me walking through the mountains and then just cinematic stuff with music, but I try to really film scenes and really show them the important stuff and let them know and understand what I do. For example, when I went to the mountains in Norway, I brought a homemade noodle soup, which I really wanted to show my audience. So I filmed a whole scene about it. I have a wide shot of me cooking, a close-up of the ingredients, close-up of me putting the ingredients into the pot, close-up of stirring, a shot of the finished product, and a shot of me eating and reacting to the food. So I always try to think about what is really important and what do I want to show, and I really try to make a scene out of these parts and create little stories around them to really show my audience my experience and the bigger picture of my trip. This might sound a bit silly, but going the extra mile pays off at the end. For example, I once went on an outdoor trip and I really wanted to make a cool video about it, but my energy was really low on the first day and things weren't going as planned, so I basically didn't pick up the camera and I told myself, okay, I'll start filming tomorrow. But what I ended up with was a film without a beginning, and all the shots that I shot on day 2 and 3 were basically worthless because I didn't have a story. If you go on a hike and you want to make a great video, your hike will be more about the video than it will be about the hike, because this filmmaking process just takes a lot of time, mind space, and it will also influence your decision making. So yeah, just be aware of that. It sounds a bit sad, but it's true. If you want to do a great video, the video will be the focus, and that's why I always do outdoor trips where I don't bring the camera and where I just enjoy nature. Last but not least, the secret sauce, the finishing touches on your video, the color grading. There are a lot of LUTs and presets available, and in my opinion, some of them are great, but most of them are super crappy. And I believe that there's only one LUT you really need. And no, I'm not trying to sell you my LUTs, because I will never ever do my own LUTs, because I'm not an expert in color grading and I found the perfect LUTs that work for me. The Phantom LUTs by Joel Famularo. He really put the effort in and he really knows what he's doing, and what he did is he matched all the cameras with the Arri Alexa, which is arguably the most beautiful camera of all times, and it just works on each and every shot. I don't get paid for him, I don't have an affiliate, I just really love his product. And he developed this LUT for different cameras, so you can get it for Sony, Canon, Red, Panasonic, Blackmagic, and all you have to do is apply the LUT to your footage and it basically will work. And I even believe that there is a manual how to set up your specific camera to work best with his LUTs. Okay, now you know everything I know, and the most important thing after all is going out and shooting. And if there's anything left you would like to know, please just ask me in the comment section. You would help me a lot with a like and maybe a subscribe if you're into outdoor adventures. I will go to Norway very soon for a backcountry ski tour in the mountains, and I will bring you guys along, so I hope to see you soon. Bye.